Hey guys, and welcome back to some Magical Storytime, the reading show here on the channel, where I either read something I've written, retell an urban legend, tell you a story from my own life with exaggerations to make them more entertaining, or just make up something on the fly, which is what I'm going to do here, in replacement for the original planned episode that, obviously, if you've seen the announcement video, has been omitted. Anyway, for autistic reasons, should I say, because I'm on that spectrum. Anyway, so the story I'm replacing that with is a prequel story to the Mid-Hampton Tales. Now, this is something that I should have written, but didn't. So I'm just going to tell you this backstory off the top of my head because I know how it's going to go. I'm going to call it The Founding of Hampton County. And the story starts in 1823, when three siblings, two brothers and a sister, Rupert, Midge, and Lewis Hampton, joining up for their afternoon stroll, end up traipsing through an as yet unnamed county with three locations as yet unexplored and unfounded until this point in time. And they decided to each found one of these locations. Now, the locations were a small village, a big town, and a massive city. Now, or they would become a small village, a big town, and a massive city. So they decided to branch off and each be the founder of one of these locations. Now, there were no railway services at the time, so Rupert got on. Rupert boarded a boat across the sea that way to where the largest of these locations was. While Lewis got on a boat in the other direction to the smallest of the places. Midge stayed where she was, in the middle-sized place. And this is because Rupert was the eldest of the three siblings, so went off to take the responsibility of being the founder of the largest place. Midge was the middle sibling, and stayed in the middle-sized place to take the responsibility of being its founder, and Lewis was the youngest of the three siblings, so went off to found the smallest place. Now, in the largest place, once Rupert had docked and disembarked his boat, he noticed that it was just a large, at the moment, a very large, massive plot of land. Obviously, there was nothing there yet, because apart from a dock where he docked, and there were buildings there, but as of yet, they had nothing in them. So he went and looked around this place and decided to name it partly after himself. Now, obviously, to call this place Roophampton didn't really sit with him, because that would not have made any sense whatsoever. And being the eldest of this place, he decided to call it Upper Hampton. Upper Hampton, as in one word, Upper Hampton. Now, in the middle-sized place where Midge had decided to stay, she was taking in her surroundings, which at this point were a dockyard at the far end of what would be the town, and buildings on either side of the street she was standing in the middle of. And she pondered to herself on what to call it. Now, obviously, she wasn't going to call it Midgehampton, because naming it after herself, well, at this point would have been appropriate. But Midgehampton? No. She called it Midhampton. Yeah, taking the G and the E out of it entirely, as the middle-sized place, founded by the middle sibling. And in the smallest place where Lewis was, he just obviously docked off his boat, and walking away from the dockyard, he saw a few buildings, including some little cottages and a few shops. Noticing that this was going to be the village, he then decided, well, he couldn't call it Lewishampton, because that wouldn't make sense. And as the youngest of the Hampton siblings, and knowing that this was the lower end of this, what would become the new county, Hampton County, he decided to call it Lower Hampton. And so the Hampton County was born after the three siblings had named all three areas after partly themselves, but after what parts of the county they were in. They reconvened in Midhampton, and together decided to call the whole county Hampton County. And it wasn't long before residents were docking and moving into the houses, and business owners were flocking in to open businesses in the empty stores. Now, they had to come by the boats because, obviously, no railway stations yet in the county. Now, but that was soon to change. After everyone had all moved in, the Hampton siblings became the leaders of the county, personally leading the places they founded. Now, in 1830, a railway network was built to interconnect the village of Lower Hampton, the town of Midhampton, and the city of Upper Hampton as a linking railway service. Just for the Hampton County. And this would make the daily commute to and from work easier for the residents of the county. Now, by this point, the founders themselves had settled down and had families of their own. Well, two of them had. Midge had decided to remain single. Rupert had actually got together with one of the residents of the Upper Hampton, and together they'd had a son and a daughter. And in Lower Hampton, Lewis had settled down with a female resident, obviously, of the village, And together, in the 7 years since the county was founded, they had a son together. Now, obviously, Midge decided to stay single because, well, she wasn't the type to be a family woman, which they respected, but she was a proud aunt. Despite this, she was a proud aunt to 3 children. And as time went on, and these children grew up, and they became grandparents and great aunt, and so on. Now, by 1854, the Hampton siblings had passed away of unknown causes. But their descendants were carrying on the running of the county. And also by this point, the one classroom schoolhouse had grown big enough to accommodate nearly 700 pupils, and so they had to branch it off into a primary, a secondary, and a tertiary place of education. So the primary school was set up in Lower Hampton, the secondary school in Mid Hampton, and the tertiary place, a university, was set up in Upper Hampton. Yes, a place of further learning. And students had the opportunity to stay on until they were 16 at the secondary school, but could also leave after a year or two if they so wished. So yes, the story is now called Mid-Hampton, the Early Years, because it's now covered from 1823 to 1854. But that is basically the story of the early years of Mid-Hampton. The first 31 years. If you'd like to see the story continue in the next episode, you have only to say so in the comments below. And I'll be happy to continue this backstory. But until then, if you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, share and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and have a magical time.